Hello and welcome to Casual Leaves Morning Edition. This is how I start most of my mornings, where I take care of my plants. And today I had some special tasks which I thought I'll do, considering it was a weekend when I shot this. I wanted to start with my juvenile Philodendrone Verrucosum. It has been a great journey with this plant, and I will come to it. But before that, I want to talk about what I'm doing right now. The plant has outgrown its moss pole, as you can see, and I want to replace it because since the time I have started using the humidifier, the leaves have started growing really fast and they've finally started picking up on size. At this point in time, they are way above the moss pole, and I'm scared that it will damage the plant or the leaves will stop growing correctly and I'll start facing the issues of ingrown leaves again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove my earlier moss pole. I had used some tie closers, so I'm going to cut those off. I had tied a string. I'm going to remove that as gently as possible, and I'm simply going to try and remove the moss pole and hopefully and successfully put the new one back in. Now, coming to the journey I was talking about for this plant, is that when I received it, it had healthy 6-7 leaves, and that's about it. And then I struggled a lot. It had ingrown leaves, it had tiny leaves, it would not grow, and I would, like a newbie, mist on it to create humidity, because I read it's because of low humidity and this plant likes to be in a humid area and likes moist soil. I would overwater it, and it barely had any roots when I got it from the cellar. So anyway, it's been a long journey, and I finally invested in a humidifier, which is really helping the plant. So I'm hoping at some point in time I'm gonna get those matured verrucosum leaves it's known for, because that's honestly my dream one day, to get those kind of leaves. Even right now, I'm facing an issue. I have a single vine on this plant, and I'm not sure how to go about it because I am finally getting some leaves, and I will need to chop this and I will need to propagate it. And I don't know if that's gonna work right now. So maybe I'm just gonna let it grow for the length of this moss pole. And at some point in time, if I can do a bit of air layering or something else, if you guys have ideas, do suggest. I'm gonna try that. So yeah, I've successfully removed the earlier moss pole. I did not water the plant so that it's easy to do this, and it came out really perfectly, left a cavity for the new moss pole to be put in, and that's what I've done. It went in really easily. The only issue is the moss pole is too tall for the plant right now, and I fear if it falls or tips over, it's gonna break the plant for sure. But right now I do not have any other moss pole, so I'm just going to use this, and I'm going to be very careful of how I place the plant. And here it is, it's done. It was easier than expected, but I had to be really gentle, which is a very tough task for me. I had to be really slow, and yeah, it's looking great. I'm going to go and water it a bit later, and that's on this plant for now. Moving on to my Alocasia now. Surprisingly, from my main mother plant, I had 2 corms. One of them actually gave a leaf, and then I started seeing root rot in the mother plant, so I separated it out. When I was separating it out, I found the other corm, which you see at the bottom, which is literally just trying to become into a stem. So I'd put them in perlite because I thought the root rot might get to these guys. So I just separated them and I put them in a container, and it seems to be working. The perlite has worked, though the roots are extremely fine. I had checked the roots a few days back, and at that point in time, there were even lesser roots. So I was patiently waiting, and hence I'd covered it with a Ziploc bag to create humidity for it, because I read that's how it works for corms in that stage. I'm going to let the other corm be in it, and I'm going to again put the Ziploc bag around it so that maybe it pushes out a leaf, and that's when we'll plant it. And for now, I'll move on to the other baby plant. I did not mention, but this is an Alocasia Black Velvet, as you may have guessed by now. I'm just going to create a soil mix of an aeroid mix I got recently, which I've been putting in all my plants. That, a bit of coco peat, in fact, a good chunk of coco peat, perlite, and some leftover leca, just to create a very, very uh, loose kind of a soil mix. I'm being a bit extra careful because I haven't propagated through perlite before, and to be honest, it hasn't worked for a lot of many other plants that I tried it with. And maybe I'll do a video on that separately. Somehow it has worked for this alocasia, so I did not want to leave it in there anymore, along with the smaller corm, because it was getting difficult to manage it in the Ziploc bag. So I thought I'll just create a very loose soil and take a chance and plant it here. The mother plant right now is going through dormancy, as are my few other alocasias. So right now I thought if this leaf is growing and this one is not dormant, I should probably just try and put it in the soil mix so the roots can start developing. So here it is now. I have placed the propagation carefully into a small size pot. I'm gonna water this with regular tap water. I read recently that you should avoid using fertilizers right after propagating or when the plants are coming out of dormancy or in dormancy, so I don't want to do that. And now on to the next task, which is one more alocasia, which is my Albo Alocasia. It has unfortunately been neglected in a way that it's been in this wrong pot. I got a pot thinking it's going to be good for keeping the soil light and airy and all of that with the kind of slits the pot has, but honestly this is a wrong pot. It is actually a pot for orchids. And anyway, the plant right now has pushed out this beautiful new leaf, which is almost 99% albo, and I think the plant is not in dormancy like my other alocasia, so I thought it's a good time to change its pot and repot it. If you can see the big holes in the bottom of the pot, they are actually a very bad thing for these kind of plants, because it's actually rotted the bottom of my stalk. It's completely dried out. It's too dry. The bottom part of the pot was too dry because of the holes. Upper part was moist, so it was just a bad combination. As usual, some roots have been damaged. I broke one root while removing this, and the bottom stalk was actually all dead, so I'm happy I removed it, and I'll be putting in the correct pot right now. And I've removed all the dead parts of the stalk. Fortunately, it has survived. I'm quite surprised that it did. Just want to check if there are any corms, though I highly doubt it because the soil is so dried up in parts and portions. And yeah, this is the root I broke off, which I felt I have tugged on and it broke. But nevertheless, I'm so happy to see some of the roots are fresh and white, which means that now that when I repot it, it will actually pick up. It's actually a good time to sort of be doing this. I'm using a very regular pot right now. I don't want to experiment with more pots. I've just used a scissor to make two holes at the bottom of this, and that's how I'm going to maintain the drainage of water from it. I'm just going to put some leftover leca balls at the bottom to create some space for the holes and the drainage to happen. I'm going to use a bit of the soil from the existing pot, which actually was good and fluffy, and the plant was really liking that part of the soil. So I'm keeping that, and I'm mixing my new aroid soil, which I've been using everywhere, and I'm putting some coco peat, perlite, and some leca balls. I'm trying to create my own version of the soil. Starting now, I'm trying to mix things from my knowledge and create an as airy as possible a soil mix. Eventually, I want to be using only soil-less kind of potting mixes, and I'm hoping I can achieve that, and my plants can get adjusted to it. So here this one is now. I'm gonna water this one with my other water mix, which has a bit of NPK, 1 teaspoon in 1 liter, a pinch of trichoderma powder, and a bit of Epsom salt. I'm gonna use that to water this one because it's in a healthy stage. And for the other one, I'm just gonna use normal water like I mentioned. And yeah, that's about it. Both of these plants are ready to be in their spot. I have chosen the baby Alocasia Black Velvet to be near the mother plant next to the humidifier. Same with my Albo Alocasia. And I'll keep you guys updated in the next couple of weeks. And thanks for watching this video. Please do like and subscribe if you benefited from this video or enjoyed it. And I'll see you next time. Bye.